The workshop smelled like burned metal and old coffee. Dowan sat alone at his workbench, his fingers moving carefully over the broken optical implant. The tiny device was no bigger than a grain of rice, but it had cost the miner who owned it 3 months of pay. A small crack in the lens had left him half blind for 2 weeks while he waited for repairs. Dowan worked slowly. He had learned long ago that rushing led to mistakes, and mistakes in his line of work meant someone suffered. He had made that mistake once, back on Earth, and a young woman had lost her eye because of it. He still saw her face in his dreams sometimes. The station hummed around him. Waypoint 11 was never quiet. Thousands of humans in Velith lived here together, trading goods and services across the vast emptiness of space. But they did not mix. Humans stayed in the upper rings where the lights were bright and the air smelled like recycled oxygen. The Velith kept to the lower levels where the corridors were dim and silent. Dowan preferred the lower ring. The rent was cheaper, and he did not like crowds. His workshop was small, barely bigger than a storage closet, but it was his. The walls were covered with shelves of tools and parts. A single lamp hung over his workbench. It was enough. He was about to fit the new lens into place. When he heard the crash, something had fallen in the front of his shop. Dowan set down his tools and stood up slowly. He was not a fighter. His body was soft from years of sitting at workbenches. But the lower ring could be dangerous at night. He walked to the front room and stopped. A figure stood among the scattered parts and boxes. Tall and thin, with skin the color of pale stone. A Velith, she was young, barely more than a child. Her hands reached out in front of her, touching the air, trying to understand where she was. The Velith had no eyes. Well, they had eyes, but the eyes did not work. They had been blind for thousands of generations. They moved through the world by listening and touching. Their hearing was so sharp they could hear a heartbeat across a room. Their fingers were so sensitive they could read emotions in the texture of skin. The girl's hands found a shelf and knocked over more parts. She made a small sound of frustration. "Hello," Dowan said softly. He did not want to scare her. She turned toward his voice. Her face was smooth and beautiful in a strange way. Where humans had eyes, she had only shallow indentations covered by thin skin. It should have been disturbing, but somehow it was not. "I am sorry," she said. Her voice was high and clear. "I did not mean to break things. I will pay for them. It is okay. They are just parts." Dowan stepped closer slowly. "Are you lost?" "No," she lifted her chin. "I am exploring the human sector." "At night?" "The temple says we should not come here, so I wanted to see what they were hiding." Dowan almost smiled. "See?" The girl paused. "It is just a word. We use it like you do. We see with our ears and hands. I understand." He looked at her more carefully. She wore the gray robes of the Temple of Eternal Stillness. An orphan, probably. The temple raised many Velith children who had no families. "What is your name?" "Yuna. I am Dowan. I fix things. Mostly eyes, actually." "For humans, you fix eyes?" She tilted her head. "What is wrong with them?" "Sometimes they stop working. Or people lose them in accidents. I make new ones." Yuna stepped closer. He could tell she was listening to his heartbeat, reading his breathing, building a picture of him through sound. "What is it like?" she asked. "To see?" The question surprised him. "You have never asked a human before?" "The temple does not allow it. They say humans lie about sight. They say it is not real, not the way humans describe it. They say you make it sound better than it is to make us feel bad about ourselves." Dowan frowned. "That is not true." "Then tell me, what is it like?" He thought for a long moment. How could he explain color to someone who had never seen it? How could he describe light and shadow, depth and distance? "It is knowing what is far away," he said finally. "Sound tells you what is near. Sight tells you what is far. I can look out a window and see stars that are millions of miles away. I can see a friend's face across a crowded room and know they are sad, even if they do not speak." Yuna was quiet for a long time. That sounds lonely, she said. To know things from far away but not be close. Maybe it is. I never thought of it that way. She reached out and found his hand. Her fingers moved over his skin, reading him. You are telling the truth, she said. You believe what you say. I do. The temple says sight is a corruption. They say our ancestors were blessed when they gave it up. They say we gained inner peace when we lost our outer eyes. What do you think? Una pulled her hand back. I think I want to know for myself. But that is impossible. She said goodbye and left quickly, slipping out into the dark corridor. Dowan watched her go. He should have reported her. Velith children were not supposed to be in the human sector, especially temple children. There would be trouble if anyone found out, but he did not report her. Instead, he went back to his workbench and sat there for a long time, thinking. The Velith had been blind for thousands of generations. Everyone accepted it as natural, as just the way they were. But Dowan was an engineer. He did not accept things just because they had always been that way. He turned on his computer and began searching through old files. Medical records, scientific studies, anything he could find about Velith biology. Most of it was useless. But deep in a gray market database he found something that made him stop breathing. Ancient Velith medical texts. Thousands of years old. And in them diagrams of Velith eyes that were not empty. Eyes with lenses and retinas. Eyes that worked. Dowan read the text 3 times to make sure he understood. The Velith were not born blind. They had been made blind. Someone long ago had changed their genes. Someone had taken their sight away on purpose. He leaned back in his chair and stared at the ceiling. His mind was racing. If the blindness was artificial, then maybe it could be reversed. Maybe he could build something that would let the Velith see again. It was a crazy idea. It would take months of work, maybe years. It might not even be possible. And if the temple found out, there would be consequences. They would not want their people to know the truth, but Dowan could not stop thinking about Yuna's question. What is it like to see? Maybe he thought, I can show her. He pulled up a blank design file and began to sketch. 6 weeks passed and Dowan barely slept. His workshop became a mess of wires, circuit boards, and empty food containers. He stopped taking repair jobs. His savings account grew smaller every day, but he did not care. All he could think about was the Visor. The design was simple in theory, but difficult in practice. The Velith still had the basic structures for sight in their brains. The neural pathways existed, just unused for thousands of generations. If he could create a device that sent the right signals to those pathways, he might be able to wake them up. He built the visor from a thin band of metal that would wrap around the head. Tiny emitters on the inside would press against the temples and send electrical pulses into the brain. A small camera on the front would capture images and translate them into signals. The brain could understand. He tested it on himself first. It did nothing, of course. His eyes already worked. But at least it did not hurt him or damage his brain. That was something. Una came back 3 times during those 6 weeks. Each time she stayed longer. She asked him about human technology, about how things worked, about the worlds beyond the station. He answered all her questions. In return, she taught him Velith poetry and told him stories about the temple. She never asked about the visor. He never told her. On her 4th visit, he decided it was time. I made something for you, he said. Una tilted her head. What is it? It might be nothing. It might not work at all. But I want you to try it. He explained what the visor was supposed to do. He told her about the risks. There could be pain. There could be damage he could not predict. It might simply do nothing at all. And if it works? She asked. Then you will see. She did not hesitate. Put it on me. Dowan's hands shook as he placed the visor on her head. He adjusted the emitters until they sat in the right positions against her temples. The camera lens rested in the center of her forehead like a third eye. I am going to turn it on now, he said. Tell me if anything hurts. He pressed the activation button. For a long moment, nothing happened. Una sat perfectly still. Dowan watched the readouts on his computer screen. The device was working. Signals were being sent. But there was no response. Then Yuna made a sound. It was not a word. It was something between a gasp and a cry. Her hands flew up to her face, then dropped again. Her whole body trembled. Yuna? Are you okay? Does it hurt? No, she whispered. No, it does not hurt. I see. I see something. What do you see? Shapes, dark shapes in lighter space. They are moving. One of them is... Is that you? Yes, I am right in front of you. She reached out toward him, and her hand found his face. But this time her fingers did not move to read his features. She just touched him and looked at the same time, matching the feeling with the image. Your face, she said. I can see your face. She began to cry. Dowan did not know what to do. He had not expected this. He thought she would be happy, excited. But she was weeping like her heart was breaking. We can stop, he said. I can turn it off. No. She grabbed his arm. Do not turn it off? I need to see more. I need to understand. He guided her around the workshop slowly. At first everything was blurry, just shapes and shadows. But as her brain learned to process the signals, the images grew sharper. She saw the lamp above the workbench and gasped at its brightness. She saw the tools on the walls and reached out to touch them. Comparing sight with touch. Then she saw herself in a small mirror he kept by the door. She stood there for a very long time, not moving. Her fingers traced her own face while she watched in the mirror. I did not know what I looked like, she said quietly. I knew the shape of my face by touch. But I did not know this. I did not know I was ... double quotes. She could not find the word. You are beautiful, Dowan said. She turned to him, and he saw something change in her expression. He realized it was the first time she had ever really seen another person react to her. The first time she could read a face the way humans did. Dowan, she said. The temple told us that sight was a corruption. They told us that our ancestors gave it up willingly because inner peace was more important than outer vision. They told us that humans lie about what sight gives them because they want to make us feel lesser. Yes, they lied. Her voice was hard now. The temple lied to us. For thousands of years? I think so, yes. She removed the visor slowly. Her hands were still shaking. I cannot see again. It is too much. I need to think. Dowan took the visor and set it aside. Take all the time you need. You do not understand. She gripped his hands tightly. If they lied about this, what else did they lie about? The whole temple is built on the idea that we are blessed to be blind, that we are better than other species because we gave up sight for wisdom. But we did not give it up. Someone took it from us. We do not know that for certain. The texts are old. They could be wrong. But they are not. I know they are not. I felt the truth when I put on that visor. She stepped back from him. I have to go. The temple will be looking for me. Will you come back? She stopped at the door. Yes, and when I do, I want you to teach me. I want to learn to see properly. I want to learn everything. She left, and Dowan sat alone in his workshop. He looked at the visor in his hands. Such a small thing. Just metal and wires and code. But it had shown a blind girl the truth, and he knew that truth was dangerous. He thought about destroying it. He thought about putting it away and never touching it again. He thought about all the trouble that could come from what he had done. Then he thought about Yuna's face when she saw light. For the first time, he put the visor in a safe place and began designing a second one. He did not know it yet. But he had just started a war far away in the dim corridors of the temple. A young priest named Taiwan stood in the shadows. He had followed Yuna to the human sector again. He had watched her go into the human's workshop. He had waited outside for hours. And when she came out, he saw something different in the way she moved. Something had changed. She walked like someone carrying a great weight, but also like someone who had been set free. Taiwan returned to the temple and stood outside the High Keeper's chamber. He should report what he had seen. That was his duty. Yuna was his responsibility, and she had broken the rules, but he did not go in. Instead, he went to his small room and sat in the darkness, thinking about the girl who walked like she had discovered a secret. And he wondered, for the first time in his life, what the temple was so afraid of. Taiwan found Yuna in the temple garden 3 days later. She was sitting alone by the fountain, running her fingers through the water the way she had done since she was a child. But something was different now. She seemed distracted, like her mind was somewhere far away. "I know where you have been going," he said. Her hand stopped moving in the water. "Are you going to report me?" "I should. You are my responsibility. If the High Keeper finds out I let you break the rules, we will both be punished." "Then report me." Taiwan sat down beside her. He had known Yuna since she was brought to the temple as a baby. He had watched her grow up. He had taught her the prayers and the songs. She was like a sister to him, or maybe a daughter. He could not explain what he felt when he thought of her being punished. "What did the human give you?" he asked. "Truth." "That is not an answer." Yuna turned toward him. He made a device, a visor. "When I wear it, I can see." The words hit Taiwan like a physical blow. "That is impossible." "I thought so too." "But it is not." "I saw light, Taiwan. I saw shapes and colors. I saw my own face in a mirror." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "The temple has been lying to us. We were not blessed with blindness. It was forced on us." Taiwan stood up quickly. His hearts were beating too fast. "You should not say such things. If anyone hears you, I do not care. I am tired of lies. It is not about lies or truth. It is about peace. The temple keeps order. Without it, our people would fall apart." Yuna reached out and found his hand. "Taiwan, you have served the temple your whole life. You have never questioned anything. But I am asking you now to question just one thing. Come with me to the human's workshop. Try the visor yourself, and then tell me if the temple has been telling us the truth." He should have said no. He should have walked away and reported everything to the High Keeper. That was his duty. That was what a good priest would do. But Taiwan had been having doubts for a long time. Small doubts, like cracks in a wall. Questions he did not allow himself to ask. Now those cracks were spreading. "One time," he said. "I will try it one time." They went to Dowan's workshop that night. The human was surprised to see a priest in temple robes, but Yuna explained, and he agreed to let Taiwan try the visor. The moment Dowan turned it on, Taiwan's world changed forever. He saw it was not beautiful, not at first. It was overwhelming and confusing and terrifying. His brain did not know how to process the information. But slowly, the chaos began to make sense. He saw the walls of the workshop. He saw the tools and the lights. He saw Yuna's face looking at him with concern, and then he began to weep, not from joy, from grief. Grief for himself. For all the years he had lived in darkness without knowing what he was missing. Grief for his people, for the countless generations who had been denied this gift. Grief for the lies he had told in the temple's name, assuring children that they were blessed to be blind. "Take it off," he said. "Please, take it off." Dawan removed the visor and darkness returned. But Taiwan knew he would never see that darkness the same way again. It was not peace anymore. It was a prison. "You were right," he said to Yuna. "The temple lied." After that night, things moved quickly. Taiwan did not report Yuna. Instead, he began helping her. They brought other young Velith to the workshop in secret, 1 or 2 at a time. Taiwan chose them carefully, picking the ones he knew were curious, the ones who asked too many questions. Each one tried the visor. Each one had a different reaction. Some were amazed, some were terrified. Some were angry, but all of them believed, though one built more visors. He worked day and night, barely stopping to eat or sleep. He knew this was dangerous. He knew he was putting himself at risk. But every time he thought about stopping, he remembered the look on Yuna's face when she saw for the first time. He could not take that away from others. The secret spread through whispers. Young Velith talked to other young Velith. Soon there were too many people who knew. And secrets that big never stay secret for long. Captain Jasu came to see Dowan on a Tuesday morning. She was a tall woman with short gray hair and tired eyes. She had been the head of station security for 15 years, and she had seen a lot of trouble in that time. But she had never seen anything like this. "I am getting complaints," she said, "from the Velith authorities. They say you are corrupting their young people. I am not corrupting anyone. I am giving them a choice they did not ask for, a choice their society does not want them to have." She looked around the workshop at all the visors in various stages of completion. "Do you know what you are doing here? You are not just fixing someone's eyes, you are tearing apart a religion. I know. And you are going to keep doing it?" Dowan was quiet for a moment. When Yuna came to me, she asked what it was like to see. She had never seen anything in her life. She did not even know what she was missing. Now she does. I cannot undo that. And I cannot stop others from wanting the same thing, Jesu sighed. The Velith Temple has a lot of political power on this station. If they decide you are a threat, they can make your life very difficult. They can make all humans' lives difficult. I understand. I do not think you do. She moved toward the door. I am not going to arrest you. You have not broken any human laws. But I am warning you, Dowan. You are playing with fire. And when it burns, it is going to burn everyone. She left, and Dowan sat alone with his thoughts. That same day, Highkeeper Solmi learned about the heresy. She was very old, the oldest Velith on the station. She had led the temple for 60 years. In that time, she had faced many challenges: political enemies, religious reformers, young people who thought they knew better than their elders. She had defeated them all, but this was different. She listened to the reports from her spies. A human engineer, a device that gave sight, young Velith sneaking to his workshop and coming back changed. And at the center of it all, the orphan girl Yuna and the priest Taiwan. Solmi did not act immediately. She was too smart for that. She needed to understand the full scope of the problem before she responded. She needed to gather evidence. She needed to prepare her arguments, because she knew this was not just about a human and his device. This was about the foundations of Velith society. For thousands of years, her people had been taught that blindness was a gift from the ancestors, that they had given up outer sight to gain inner wisdom, that they were better than other species because they did not rely on something as crude as light and shadow. If that was a lie, then everything was a lie. The temple, the prayers, the whole structure of Velith life would collapse. Solmi could not let that happen. She began making plans, far away. In a quiet corner of the station, another Velith was also making plans. Elder Moran was a member of the Velith Council, the political body that governed their people on the station. She was younger than Solmi and more moderate in her views. She had always believed that the Velith needed to change with the times, to adapt to the wider galaxy. She had heard the rumors about the Visor, and unlike Solmi, she wanted to know if they were true. She visited Dowan's workshop alone, late at night. She tried the Visor, and when she took it off, she did not weep or rage. She smiled. "I have waited my whole life for this," she said. "I always knew the temple was hiding something. What will you do?" Dowan asked. "I will try to help you. But you need to understand what you are facing. The High Keeper is not going to argue with you. She is not going to debate the truth. She is going to destroy you. And she is going to make Yuna an example to frighten everyone else into obedience." "How do I stop her?" Moran shook her head. "I do not know if you can, but I will do what I can to protect you. And in return I ask one thing." "What?" "Keep building the visors. Build as many as you can. Because once this fight starts, the only way to win is to make sure the truth cannot be hidden again." Dowan agreed. He worked through the night, building visor after visor. The war was coming. He could feel it. They came for Yuna at dawn. Temple guards entered her small room without warning and took her by the arms. She did not fight. She had known this was coming. She let them lead her through the temple corridors while other Velith stopped and listened. Hearing the commotion and wondering what was happening, they brought her to the High Keeper's chamber and made her kneel on the cold stone floor. Solmi stood above her, tall and straight despite her age. Her voice was calm but heavy with authority. "Yuna of the Temple of Eternal Stillness, You are charged with spiritual corruption and spreading false prophecy. You have broken the sacred laws of our people. You have led others into heresy. What do you say? I say the temple has lied to us for thousands of years. The guards tightened their grip on her arms. Solmi did not react to the insult. She simply nodded and gave an order. Take her to the holding cells. She will face the council tomorrow. At the same time, station security arrived at Do-won's workshop. Captain Jisoo was with them. Her face was hard, but Do-won could see the apology in her eyes. I am sorry, she said. The Velith authorities have filed a formal complaint. They are calling it technological assault on a protected species. I have to take you in. Do-won did not resist. He let them put restraints on his wrists and lead him away. As he left his workshop, he looked back at all the unfinished visors on his workbench and wondered if anyone would ever use them. Word spread through the station like fire. The humans were angry. They gathered in groups and talked loudly about injustice and freedom. Many of them had never cared about the Velith before, but now they saw one of their own being arrested for helping someone see. That felt wrong to them. The Velith were divided. The older ones, the ones who had spent their whole lives in the temple's care, supported the High Keeper. They said the human had corrupted their young people with false promises. But the younger ones were not so sure. They had heard the rumors. Some of them had tried the visor themselves. They knew the truth. The station had never felt so tense. In his cell, Do-won received a visitor. Captain Jisoo came to see him alone. You really made a mess of things, she said. I know. Do you regret it? He thought about the question for a long moment. No, Yuna asked me what it was like to see. She deserved an answer. They all deserved an answer. You gave them a miracle they did not ask for. Now everyone has to live with the consequences. Maybe that is what miracles are. Things that change everything whether you want them to or not. Jisoo shook her head. I do not know what is going to happen to you. The Velith want you punished. The humans want you freed. I'm stuck in the middle trying to keep everyone from killing each other. What about Yuna? She goes on trial tomorrow. In front of the whole council. Jisoo paused. The High Keeper wants to make an example of her. If you have any friends among the Velith, now is the time to call on them. After she left, Do-won sat in his cell and thought about Yuna. She was so young. She had done nothing wrong except ask questions and want to know the truth. And now she was going to be punished for it. He had never felt so helpless in his life. The trial took place in the Great Council Chamber, a vast circular room where the Velith settled their most important disputes. The 7 members of the council sat in high chairs around the edges. In the center, Yuna stood alone. The gallery was packed with Velith who had come to watch. High Keeper Solmi stood at the front, ready to speak for the temple. Yuna of the Temple of Eternal Stillness, she began. You have been charged with spiritual corruption. You visited the human sector against temple law. You allowed a human to put a device on your head that he claimed would give you sight. And then you brought other young Velith to this human and encouraged them to do the same. Do you deny these charges? No, then you admit your guilt. I admit what I did. I do not admit that it was wrong. A murmur went through the crowd. Solmi raised her hand for silence. The device the human made? She said. What did it do to you? It let me see. Impossible. The Velith have not had sight for thousands of generations. Our eyes do not work. Everyone knows this. Everyone is wrong. Solmi's voice grew harder. You were tricked. The human put images in your mind and made you think you were seeing. It was an illusion designed to confuse you and turn you against your people. It was not an illusion. I saw real things. I saw shapes and colors. I saw faces. I saw my own reflection. Yuna's voice rose. I saw the truth. And the truth is that we were not blessed with blindness. Someone took our sight away from us. Someone changed our genes long ago and made us blind on purpose. The temple has known this all along and kept it secret. The chamber erupted. Velith were shouting at each other. Some were calling Yuna a liar. Others were calling for the High Keeper to answer her claims. The council members tried to restore order, but no one was listening. Then Taiwan stepped forward. He had been standing at the back of the gallery, watching. Now he walked to the center of the chamber and stood beside Yuna. "I am Brother Taiwan of the Temple of Eternal Stillness," he said loudly. "I have served the temple for 20 years. I have taught the sacred texts and led the prayers. And I am here to tell you that Yuna speaks the truth." The chamber fell silent. Taiwan reached into his robe and pulled out a data tablet. "These are medical records from the ancient times. They show that our ancestors had working eyes. They could see just like humans do. But someone in power decided that sight was dangerous. They decided that blind people were easier to control. So they changed our genes and made us blind. And then they created the temple to make us grateful for our chains." He held up the tablet. "This is the proof. Anyone can look at it. Anyone can see that we were lied to." Solmi stepped toward him. "Where did you get that?" "From the human's workshop. He found the records and showed them to me. But they are real. You can verify them yourself. These records are false. They are human propaganda designed to weaken our society. Then let the council examine them. Let scholars study them. If they are false, prove it." The chamber exploded again. People were shouting, pushing. Fights broke out between those who believed Taiwan and those who supported the temple. The council members called for guards to restore order. In the chaos, Solmi approached Yuna. She spoke quietly so only Yuna could hear. "You are young and foolish. You do not understand what you are destroying. Our people have lived in peace for thousands of years because of the temple, because we had purpose and meaning. Now you want to take that away and give them what? Sight? What good is sight if there is nothing worth seeing? At least they would have the choice. Choice is chaos. Choice is pain. I am trying to protect them. You are trying to control them. There is a difference." Solmi stepped back. Her face was hard. "The trial will continue tomorrow. And when it does, I will make sure you never corrupt anyone again." That night, Dawan received another visitor. Elder Moran came to his cell with news. The trial went badly. The council is deadlocked. Half of them believe Yuna, half support Solmi, and the people are divided too. There have been fights. The station is falling apart. What can I do? Nothing from in here. But I am working on getting you released. If I can... She stopped. They both heard the explosion. Far away, in the lower ring, someone had set fire to Dowan's workshop. The flames spread quickly, destroying everything inside. All the visors, all the parts, all his work, and when the fire was put out, they found Taiwan lying in the wreckage. He was alive, but barely. He had gone to the workshop to save the visors and had been caught in the blast. Miran left quickly to find out what happened. Dowan sat alone in his cell, listening to the alarms and the shouting and the sound of a station tearing itself apart. He had wanted to give the Velith the gift of sight. Instead, he had given them a war. 3 days after the fire, Waypoint 11 was a station divided. The humans had retreated to the upper rings. The Velith stayed in the lower levels. Trade between them stopped. Ships that arrived at the station found empty docking bays and unanswered calls. The whole place felt like it was holding its breath, waiting for something terrible to happen. Highkeeper Solmi addressed the Velith Council and called for all humans to be expelled from the station. "They have poisoned our young people," she said. "They have attacked our faith. They cannot be trusted to live among us." Captain Jisu prepared evacuation plans for the human population. She did not want to leave, but she could not risk her people's lives. If the Velith decided to attack, the humans were outnumbered. In the middle of all this, Elder Moran worked quietly. She called in every favor she had. She argued with council members. She made deals. And finally, she convinced them to release Dowan from his cell. "You are free," she told him when the guards opened the door. "But you need to leave the station. Today, if you stay, someone will kill you." "What about Yuna?" "She is still in the temple. Solmi is holding her there until the council makes a final decision that I am not leaving." Moran grabbed his arm. Listen to me. You have done enough. You have done more than enough. But this is not your fight anymore. This is between us now. Between Velith. It became my fight the moment I built that visor. He pulled away from her and walked out of the security station. The corridors were empty. Everyone was hiding, waiting for the violence they knew was coming. Dowan walked through the silent halls until he reached the edge of the Velith sector. Then he kept walking. He found Yuna in the temple garden, sitting by the fountain where Taiwan had confronted her weeks ago. She was alone. The guards had stopped watching her so closely now that Taiwan was injured and the workshop was destroyed. They thought she was beaten. They were wrong. You should not be here, she said when she heard his footsteps. I know. The High Keeper will have you killed. I know that too. She turned toward him. Her face was tired and sad, but there was still strength in it. Why did you come? To give you this. He held out his hand. And it was a visor. The only one that had survived the fire. He had kept it hidden in his cell, and the guards had not thought to search him when they released him. Yuna took it slowly. One visor. What good is one visor? That depends on what you do with it. She was quiet for a long time. Her fingers moved over the visor, feeling its shape. Miran told me about your plan. You want me to escape. Go to human space. Start over. It is an option. If I run, they win. They will say the visor corrupted me. They will say I was a weak girl who fell for human lies. And nothing will change. Our people will stay blind forever. Then what do you want to do? Yuna stood up. I want to finish this. I want to speak to everyone on this station, humans and Velith together. I want to show them what the visor can do. And then I want to offer it to anyone who wants it. Solmi will never allow that. Solmi is afraid. That is why she is fighting so hard. She knows that if even a few Velith choose to see, her power is gone. The temple is built on the idea that we cannot see and should not want to. Once people know they have a choice, the temple becomes meaningless. Dowan looked at her. She was so young, barely more than a child. But she spoke like someone who had lived a long time and thought deeply about hard things. You might fail, he said. I know. You might die. I know that too. Then why do it? She smiled just a little. Because you asked me what it was like to see. And I found out. Now I cannot pretend I do not know. I cannot go back to the darkness and be happy there. And I will not let other people stay in that darkness if they want to leave. They made their plans quickly. Miran helped them arrange for a public address in the station's central plaza. Captain Jesu agreed to provide security as long as both humans and Velith were allowed to attend. The council could not stop it without looking like they were afraid of what Yuna would say. High Keeper Solmi came to Yuna one last time before the address. I will give you one chance, she said. Renounce the visor. Tell the people it was a trick, a human deception. Say you were young and foolish and you have returned to the true faith. Do this and I will show mercy. You can stay in the temple. You can have a life, and if I refuse, then I will destroy you. Not just your reputation, I will make sure no one ever listens to you again. I will make sure you spend the rest of your life as a warning to anyone who thinks about following your path. Yuna considered the offer. A small part of her wanted to accept. She was tired. She was scared. She did not want to fight anymore, but then she thought about Taiwan, lying in the medical bay with burns on his body because he tried to save the visors. She thought about all the young Velith who had come to Dowan's workshop and seen for the first time and wept with joy and grief. She thought about all the generations who had lived and died in darkness, never knowing what had been taken from them. No, she said. Sol. I left without another word. The plaza was full when Yuna arrived. Thousands of people. Humans and Velith together, standing in silence and waiting to hear what she would say. Captain Jesu's security teams lined the edges of the crowd, watching for trouble. On one side of the plaza, the council members stood in their formal robes. On the other side, the temple priests, with Solmi at their head. Yuna walked to the center of the plaza and stood on the raised platform where announcements were made. She could feel the weight of all those people waiting for her. She was more afraid than she had ever been. She put on the visor. For a moment there was only silence. Then she opened her mouth and began to speak. My name is Yuna. I was raised in the Temple of Eternal Stillness. I was taught that our people were blessed to be blind, that we gave up sight to gain wisdom, that we were better than other species because we did not need to see. She looked out at the crowd, humans and Velith side by side, scared and angry and hopeful. I believed those things. I believed them my whole life. Until a human engineer named Dowan made a visor that let me see for the first time. And when I saw, I learned the truth. We did not give up our sight. It was taken from us. Thousands of years ago, someone changed our genes and made us blind. And then they created the temple to make us grateful for what they had done. The crowd stirred. She could hear whispers, murmurs of shock and disbelief. I am not here to tell you what to believe. I am not here to say the temple is evil or that sight is better than blindness. I am here to give you something the temple never did. A choice. She held up the visor for everyone to see. This device can give sight to any Velith who wants it. It is not perfect. It takes time to learn. It can be overwhelming and painful. But it works. I have used it. Others have used it. And now I am offering it to anyone who wants to try. She stepped down from the platform and walked into the crowd. If you want to see, come forward. If you do not, that is your right. No one will force you. No one will judge you. But the choice is yours. For the first time in thousands of years, the choice is finally yours. For a long moment, no one moved. Then a young Velith stepped forward. A girl, even younger than Yuna, she reached out and touched the visor with trembling hands. I want to see, she said. Yuna placed the visor on her head and activated it. The girl gasped. Her hands flew up, then dropped. She looked around at the plaza, at the people, at the lights and colors and shapes. Oh, she whispered. Oh, more Velith came forward. Not many, but some. Yuna passed the visor from one to another, letting each of them see for a few minutes before moving on. Some of them wept. Some of them laughed. Some of them took off the visor and walked away without a word. Most of the Velith stayed where they were. They did not come forward. They were not ready. Maybe they would never be ready. And that was okay. Yuna looked at Solmi across the plaza. The High Keeper's face was unreadable. The temple gave us no choice, Yuna said loudly. This human gave us all the choice in the world. Solmi stepped forward. Everyone watched as she walked to where Yuna stood. The two of them faced each other in the center of the crowd. You think you have won? Solmi said. You think this changes everything. I think it changes enough. Solmi was silent for a long time. Then she reached out and took the visor from Yuna's hands. The crowd held its breath. The High Keeper put the visor on her own head. Dowan watched from the edge of the plaza as the visor activated. He saw Solmi's body go rigid. He saw her hands clench at her sides. He saw her face twist with emotions he could not name. She was seeing for the first time in her long life. Seeing the world she had told everyone did not exist. Seeing the truth she had spent decades hiding. After a long moment, she collapsed to her knees. She was weeping. The crowd did not know what to do. Some people moved toward her. Others stepped back. Yuna just watched. When Solmi finally took off the visor, her face was wet with tears. She looked at Yuna with eyes that could not see, but with a mind that finally understood. I did not know, she whispered. I thought I was protecting them. I did not know what I was taking away. Yuna knelt beside her. Now you do. The crisis did not end that day. The station remained tense for weeks. The council debated and argued. The temple split into factions, some supporting reform and others calling for a return to tradition. Some Velith chose to see, but most did not.